Hello students and very warm welcome in the social science class. Dear students, today in this module we are going to discuss about the first chapter of geography, that is resources and development. So let us learn the chapter resources and development. Well, we all know the meaning of resources. So what do we understand? Resources are everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs. This is the general definition of resources. But if we look into it a little deeper, any resource to be a resource for me has to undergo certain conditions. And what are those conditions? Well, they have to undergo three conditions, and three conditions are: first one is it should be technologically accessible, second economically feasible, and third culturally acceptable. Now when I say technologically accessible, means I should know the technology to develop resource. Say for example rubber. We make rubber products from latex, which is a white milk-like substance we get from a typical tree. And in India, in Kerala, we have them in plenty. Every day, early in the morning, they put a small cut it out. Until 10 o'clock, they collect latex. Then it is gradually processed in the factories. So we have the technology. Second, rubber products are economical. That's why we say it is economically feasible. Feasible means it is affordable. Then it is culturally acceptable. That is using rubber products in our day-to-day life. It is accepted in the society. So it has undergone three conditions. So it is a resource. Similarly, if I take a house furniture, again house furniture, because first one technologically accessible, because we know to use timber and convert it into furniture. Second, they are economical, but they are not economical to everybody. Somebody may say he cannot afford such furniture, so for him it will not bear it. Third, it is culturally acceptable. Having furniture at home is acceptable in the society. So it is culturally acceptable in the society. So it is culturally acceptable. Then only it will become a resource. Similarly, a mobile phone. Mobile phone is technologically accessible and people buy according to their level of feasibility. So it should be economically feasible and culturally acceptable. Then it becomes a resource. So the question that is asked is, on what factors does the utility of the resource depend? And the answer, you have to involve these three conditions. Now the resources, before it comes to us, it undergoes a process of transformation. Now, what is the process of transformation? The process of transformation involves an interdependent relationship. This interdependent relationship is between nature. Second one is technology. And third one is institutions. So again, if I take the same example, that is rubber. So rubber we get from trees, which is nature. Second, it involves the technology. So people have the technology. And the third one is there are industries which converts raw rubber into rubber. So that is nature, technology and institutions. Similarly, if I take furniture, our second example, now the nature give us timber. With technology, I am able to convert it into furniture. Similarly, you take anything that you use in our day-to-day life, whether it is washing machine, TV, ordinary vessel in our house, they all have these three conditions. That is, they undergo a process in which there is nature, technology, as well as institutions. Now, how does it help? It helps in accelerating, that is, speeding up the economic development. Now, what question is asked on these topic? The question that is asked is, explain the process of transformation of resources. Now, the process of transformation of things available in our environment involves an interdependent relationship between nature, technology, and institutions. Second one, human beings interact with nature through technology and create institutions to accelerate their economic development. But again, this is the limited understanding of water resources. So we will classify resources are many, so they can be classified. So we study type of resources. Now resources can be classified on the basis of origin, and on the basis of origin we have biotic and abiotic. On the basis of exhaustibility we have renewable and non-renewable. On the basis of ownership we have individual, community, national and international resources. On the basis of status of development we have potential, developed, stock and reserves. Now talking about the first, but before that, on the entire topic that comes on screen, what is the question? The question is, on what basis can we classify resources? So this should be the answer. Now let us understand the first one, that is classification on the basis of origin. So talking on the basis of origin, we have biotic resources as well as abiotic resources. Now what is biotic resource? Biotic resource, biotic means anything that has life or anything that has found in the biosphere. So these are obtained from biosphere and have life, such as human beings. Now human beings is resource. How are human being is resource? Every day the milkmen bring milk to our house. We get so many services from the society, whether it is police, whether it is army, whether it is doctors or the engineers. Then only life is possible. So human beings are resource because they have skills and they can serve the society. Similarly, it is flora and fauna. When I say flora, flora refers to the vegetation. Vegetation here is made up of different type of species. Then it is fauna. Fauna refers to the species of animals, even fisheries and livestock. Livestock refers to the life, that is domestic animals. The animals that we domesticate like cow, buffalo or a goat, sheep, these are all examples of livestock resources. This was biotic. Then what is abiotic? Non-living things. So when there is a wood in the tree, that wood is biotic. But as soon as I make a furniture of it, it becomes abiotic. Okay. So these are all those things which are composed of non-living things. So they can be called abiotic resources. Say all the instruments that we use in our day-to-day life, machine that we use in our day-to-day life, they all come in the category of abiotic resources. Then it is come on the basis of exhaustibility. Exhaustibility means it gets exhausted. Now, when I say resources get exhausted, it is renewable as well as non-renewable. Renewable resources are resources which can be renewed. They can be replenished. They can be reproduced again and again. So resources which can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical or mechanical processes are known as renewable resources or replenishable resources. Say for example, solar energy. To produce solar energy, all the processes are involved, that is physical, chemical and mechanical. And finally, we get solar energy with the help of solar panels, and it is continuous source of energy, and that is why it is renewable. Similarly, it is wind energy, because wind is something that is continuously flowing, and that can also be converted into electricity. Water again is a resource in so many ways, whether it is used for domestic purpose or agriculture or industries. Water is a big resource. Then we have forests. Forest again, even if people go for deforestation, cut down trees, once again we developed in any area, they come in the category of renewable resource. And it is the wildlife. Wildlife refers to the wild animals. Now, renewable resource again can be divided into continuous as well as flow. When I say continuous, it can be wind energy, which is continuous flowing. The next one is flow. Flow here refers to rivers, running water. So they will come into the category of flow. So renewable resource can further be divided into continuous as well as flow. Then comes the non-renewable resources. We have seen that we get it from the rocks and minerals. Say what you see here, that is iron ore mine. When I say iron ore, means iron plus ore, iron plus impurities. So once it is extracted, it is over. It will not produce in the same place. It is one time use. So it comes in the category of non-renewable resource, and it takes a long geological time. If it is all, it has to develop again that particular place. It can be a million years or many million years. Supposing I take the coal mines. The coal mines are placed from where we extract the coal and we use it. But the formation of coal has taken more than 200 million years. So this is a long geological time. So minerals and fossil fuels are clear examples of such resources. These resources take millions of years in their formation. Then comes on the basis of ownership. Now, on the basis of ownership, we have individual resources as well as community-based resources, national resources and international resources. So, dear students, what is the individual resource? Resources that are owned privately by individuals will be called as individual resources. The individual can further be divided as rural and urban. So rural individual resources means a person may have their own house. He set up trees, his agricultural land, his cattle. They all are individual resources. Then it is urban areas. When they come to urban areas, in the urban areas the individual resource will be a person, his own car, his bungalow, his flat. These are all individual resources. Then it is community owned resources. When I say community owned resources, these are resources which are accessible to all the members of the community. This can be parks, gardens, temples, church, mosque. These are all examples of community owned resources. So it is owned by the members of the particular community or a particular area. In the rural areas, it is grazing grounds or pasture lands. They come in the category of community owned resources. Grazing grounds are places where animals go and eat grass. Then it is burial grounds. Burial grounds are places where a person is cremated. Then it is village ponds. Sometimes it can be village well also. So these are community owned resources. Then it is public parks, picnic spots, playgrounds. They all are comes in the urban area, and by default these all are a part of community owned resources. So what is community owned resource? Resources which are accessible to all the members of the community. Then comes is national resources. National resources are resources that are owned by the nation. So technically speaking, all the resources belong to nation. Okay. Supposing a farmer has a big piece of land. We know it is an individual resource. But one fine day, it was understood that in that area there is a gold mine. Lot of gold is there under the ground. Then it becomes a national resource because that gold is not developed by human efforts. So anything that is not developed by human efforts will belong to nation, will be a national resource. Now the country has legal powers to acquire even private property for public good. And how is this done? Urban development authorities are empowered by the government to acquire the land. Why do they do? This is done for the public good and is done by the urban development authorities. All the minerals in the mines, all kind of water resources, whether it is rivers, lakes, they belong to the nation. Then even forests, and our country has plenty of forest and wildlife. They all are a part of national resource. Then it is the land within the political boundary. India has a land of 32,87,263 square kilometers of land. So land within the political boundaries. Now this was all about land. What about the sea and the ocean? When I am standing near the seashore and looking into the sea up to 12 nautical miles, that is 22.2 kilometers, is actually referred to as territorial water. And that comes within the country's jurisdiction. Okay. So a country has complete power in that area. It can go for mineral extraction, it can go for fishing and other activities. Then there is a land up to 200 nautical miles, and this area comes in the category of exclusive economic zone. These areas are also belong to nation, but there are limited rights, so that are national resources. Next one is international resources. Now there are some international institutions like WHO, International Court of Justice, SAARC, that is South Asian and Association for Regional Cooperation. So these are all international organizations, and they are international resource also for the respective countries. Okay. Similarly, in the sea beyond 200 nautical miles, the area in the waters will be an international resource. the ocean resources beyond 200 nautical miles of the exclusive economic zone, because exclusive economic zone extends up to 200 nautical miles. Territorial waters extends up to 12 nautical miles. So beyond 200 nautical miles, that area is an international resource. So no individual country can utilize these without the concurrence of international institutions. That is, without an agreement of the international institutions. Then it is the classification on the basis of the status of development. On the basis of status of development, it is potential, developed, stock, and even reserves. Now, talking about potential. What are potential resources? Resources which are found in a particular region but have not been utilized. Now, what can be that? Now, India is a tropical country, and tropical country means we are rich in solar energy as well as wind energy, because in India the wind that blow mainly in southwest monsoon winds and northeast monsoon winds, this can be fully used for generating electricity, but we have not fully utilized. So such resources come in the category of potential resources. So what is the potential resource? Resources which are found in a particular region but have not been utilized will come in the category of potential resources. Mainly, to develop any resource, we require two things. One is technology and other one is money. So if any one factor is missing, then the resource will not fully develop. Then comes the developed resources. Developed resources means the actual resource of the country. So here resources that have been surveyed and developed for utilization, or I will say the actual resource of the country is the developed resource. So supposing we have some number of windmills in a particular area, say there are 1000 windmills, then that 1000 windmills which give us electricity is the developed resource. Then it is stock. What can be a stock? Actually, these are the materials which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but human beings do not have the appropriate technology to access them, will come in the category of stock. Now, what can be such a resource which has the potential to satisfy human needs, but human beings do not have appropriate technology? One such example is water. Now, how can water be an example? Water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen, and both of them are rich source of energy. Both of them are inflammable gases, okay? But right now we don't have technology to split them, or you can say separate them and use it. In future we will have abundance of hydrogen and oxygen. So right now it comes in the category of stock. Then it is reserves. Reserves, these are subset of stock which can be put into use with the help of existing technical know-how, but their use has not been utilized. So I said that you develop any resources, we require technology and money. Say if technology is available but money is not available, so the development is postponed. Such resources comes in the category of reserves. Say for example, river is flowing and a dam is constructed. The dam is supplying water to the nearby area for agriculture, settlement, industries, but the reservoirs also has the capacity to generate electricity, but has not yet been done. So hydroelectric power stations have not been developed in that area. So that will be that aspect of the dams comes in the category of reserve resources. In future we can use it. So that is reserve resources. So dear students, today in this module we have studied about the meaning of resources. We have also discussed about the relationship between nature, technology and institution. And finally, I have told you the type of resources on different bases. Thank you. Stay blessed. Stay happy.